You're listening to the Beans and Dice Podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome back to the Beans and Dice Podcast, a podcast about
How we game.
I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
And welcome to the live call-in show
thing
that we do on Thursdays.
Thursday nights.
Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We're back. We're here.
Yep, absolutely.
We gamed, and we're ready to talk about board games and stuff.
Whatever comes up.
Right, so we will open up the channels. Don't forget, we have our phone number for you.
Yeah, hit with that phone number.
813-618-7099 to open up the phone lines. This is a call-in show, so it does require participation.
Yeah, audience participation, highly encouraged.
Yes,
Yeah.
we really want you to either pop in, chime in on the chat, or actually call in. So I'm going to open up the phone line.
Line. Singular, not plural.
So we will.
And remember, if you call in on that line and you get a busy signal, it's probably because we're on with somebody. If you're able to watch live, just wait till that call ends and then call in right away, and you'll be the hopefully the next one in the queue if you can beat everybody to it. So
Right, that's the key, is you got to be quick to the jump.
Yep.
Right, because when someone gets off the phone, actually that happened the last show.
Yeah.
I felt like it was right back to back to back, which was really cool. Thank you.
Yep.
For those of you that called in. And I know it's been a lot of our friends lately calling in from the local side, which, listen, totally, that's totally good.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
We want anyone to talk to, especially if you're outside of our game group. Give us a shout, call us. But if you are part of our Florida game group here in Tampa, please call us. Tell us what's going on. I know we're not getting together like we used to, so I don't get to see or hear from y'all as often as I'd like.
And as always, any topic is open game. Anything board game related, board game adjacent, even. We'll talk about whatever. We're we've got a few things we always hit on. Games we've played recently, maybe just some few little news things that have come up recently that we've heard about or whatever. But if you've got something, a new game that you want to talk about, something you've heard some information about, want to know if we've heard anything about it, definitely call in. We're here to talk. We'll do a little research. We've got a Board Game Geek site here that we reference as far as some pictures and things. And if we don't know a game, we'll look it up on there and we'll talk about it.
Exactly. And I think we usually start off our shows with talking about what we've been up to.
Yep.
Right. So we get a moment to just chat about things that we've been up to gaming wise. I'll kick us off.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Robert and I together, we met up at Your Turn.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago, and we played some games at Your Turn, which is a board game cafe in Zephyr Hills, Florida. Dan actually called in last show, right? The show,
right?
That last show,
the last one we did, yeah. 2 weeks ago.
There, we got to play Draftosaurus.
Right. That was the first for both of us, or had you played that before?
I had not played it before.
Okay, so
I just got it.
Okay.
So that was something that Patrick put me on because Patrick and his family played it.
Right.
He's got a daughter the same age as my son, our youngest son. Sons, you and I.
Yep.
And he swore by it. He posted up in the group chat about, wow, how awesome this game was for him and his daughter. So I went to go look for it, and I couldn't find it online.
Yep.
Right, there was everything was expensive. Like when I went on Amazon or eBay.
High demand.
Right. It looked like it was like jacked up in price. I went to Armada to pick up, I think it was just like super glue or something. Armada's our local game shop where I buy all my miniature supplies for miniature hobby. And there was one left on the shelf.
Wow.
Like 20-something bucks, like 25
Snagged
bucks.
it.
Oh, grabbed it real quick. Scooped that thing up. And so when we got to play it, that was our first time playing it.
Yeah.
Very small box, very light game, $25 in price. And it is a drafting. God, I feel like it's a light version of Dinosaur Island. Like that's maybe the goal, is to give you the feel of like a Dinosaur Island, dinosaur Jurassic Park feeling.
Yeah.
Game.
It reminded me of some of those recent dinosaur building DNA type games that we've played, and that's probably because of the minis. It's got the little meeples that are all the different shapes of the dinosaurs.
Yes.
It's got the I'm going to refer to as kind of a 1980s. It's a very bright, colorful color scheme. It's
cartoony, comic booky.
Yep.
Color scheme.
Absolutely.
It just really felt like a light version of Dinosaur Island.
Yep.
It felt too light right? Like I would say, I would imagine it would be too light for most of our families.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely family weight. I mean, that's a good way to describe it. It's a family weight game. It says here, I'm looking on BGG, it's got an 8 and up is the recommended age range.
I'd agree.
Yeah, 2 to 5 players. The big thing that I know we're going to talk about here is 15 minutes, and that was the one of the nice things about it. It's one of those games you knock out 15 minutes. You can play it 2, 3, 4 times.
Did we play it twice?
We did. Yeah, we
did play it twice, back to back.
We played it with my my 2 older kids, my 17-year-old and 15-year-old, and I think they both enjoyed it. Again, it was on the lighter side, and I know my kids are just crossing that threshold now. My older kids are crossing that threshold from the lighter games to they're starting to kind of dig into some heavier games. And so I think as far as being flighty, angsty teenagers, they weren't overly impressed by it. But I think I think they did like the fact that it was quick.
Yes, I don't think they were disappointed.
Oh, I don't think so. No,
but of course, it wasn't like, oh my God, this is the best game ever. I can't wait to play it again.
Right, exactly.
But it was like, yeah, well, let's play that again.
Yep, we did it once. We learned how to play it, and then was like immediately. I think we all were pretty much, yeah, let's reset that. Let's do it again. 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes that first game, just because we were learning the rules a little bit. But really, the rules are light. I mean, I can't remember the rule book is what, maybe 2 pages,
right? Very small. So in this game, you're playing the role of a zoo owner, right? So you manage a zoo, and you have a zoo of dinosaurs, and you're going to have pens that you're going to put dinosaurs in, and then each pen calls for a different combination of dinosaur types in order to score that pen.
Right.
So one pen might say we want only all different dinosaurs in this pen. This pen might say we want pens that are all the same dinosaur. Mm-hmm. This pen says we want pairs, lover's pen, I think it was.
Yeah, a little heart or something on there.
Yeah, and then there was a pen for having 3 of a kind. So I think it was 3 of a kind. And then there's the T-Rex pen. Or I'm sorry, no, the king pen.
The king, right? You could only have the one of that type of dinosaur on your whole board, and if you had only had one, then or actually, was that the one where you had the most out of everybody?
Yeah, you had to have the equal to the most.
Equal to or more
than any other person on the table,
right?
Of that type of dinosaur, you would score that one,
right. And then there was the other one. I don't know if you mentioned the one where you had to have only one of each type, so you could never repeat. But as you added them, the exponential multiplier kind of got higher and higher and higher because it gets harder, obviously, to draft that 1 or 2 last dinosaurs that you need of each of the types, each of the colors. So, yeah, it scored in 6, 7.
Well,
what
was nice though, and this is a key piece here with the pens. They had the river.
Right.
So look, perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
The river allows you to, if you have nowhere else you want to put that dino, you can throw that dino in the river, and it was fun saying it. I'm gonna throw him in the river.
Yeah,
throw him in the river.
Just throw that body in the river. Yeah,
but it gives you a point.
Yep,
and it's a point.
Right, and so you may mess up your board if you're forced to put them somewhere else. So if you have somewhere that you don't want to put them because you're going to mess up the scoring on one of your other areas, you just throw them in the river. It's 1 point, and you move on. So yeah, and actually scrolling through here, you can see here's the lover's pin or whatever we call it.
You want to have 2 of a kind in there, and you get 5 points for that.
Right, you can have up to 6 dinos. It shows 1 to 6 dinos, and for every colored matched pair, you get 5 points.
It's a lot of talking for a small game because it was just good.
Right,
it was just good. Now detractors on it, like things that we didn't like. I think you mentioned it a few times. It was the passing of the meeples, right? So you're going to draw a number of meeples out of the bag, dino meeples out of the bag. And those are the meeples that you're going to choose one. So you have to secretly choose one. So now you're trying to hold these tiny meeples in your hand and hide them from everybody.
Right.
And then you pick one and hold that in your other hand, and then you're going to have to take the rest and pass them to the person to your left without showing everyone.
Right, you're supposed to keep them secret. So, yeah, I had mentioned that in practicality, it would have been better to have cards instead of the dino meeples. But, I mean, come on, the dino meeples, really?
It made the board.
That's what sells the game, so, yeah.
And I saw the die. It reminded me of the die. There is a die. Each turn, a player rolls a die.
Right. It alternates. It just moves around the table.
And it's going to require all other players to be limited to that quadrant of their board.
Right.
So it's going to provide a limitation to the other players. The player who rolled the die gets to ignore it for that round, and then the die passes to the next player on the next round, and then we continue that way.
Right. And so, here's a picture of the forest of the die, but yeah, the forest. So there's 3 forest areas on the board, and then there's 3 kind of plains open areas. But if the person who rolls the forest, then all of the other players are forced to put the meeple that they place that turn in one of the 3 forest areas. So you're not completely handcuffed. It doesn't limit you all down to just one area that you have to place it, but it cuts the board in half essentially, and so you can only place it in half of the areas. Or again, you can always throw it in the river and let it float on down for a point. So
I love that. Throw it in the river.
Throw it in the river.
Yep, throw it in the river.
Throwing this one in the river. Yeah,
and that worked out well. I think that mechanic of throwing in the river really helped. I believe.
Yeah.
Because it allows for, you don't have any decision that doesn't give you something.
Right.
I guess negative play experience. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, there you go.
It doesn't give a negative play experience when you're not able to perform the thing you wanted to do.
Right. You get a point for everything. So a little bit of a point salad, but again, some interesting decisions as you start filling up that board and you're drafting. And of course, we played a 4-player game. I think it maxes out. Did I say 4 or 5? But
I believe it might be 5.
Is it 5? I think. Yeah. But
it's up there
with 4 players as frequent enough as
I think it says 5.
You're drawing. Let's see, was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 8 meeples, and then you're passing them. So when you do that first pass, you have a decent idea of what's going to come back around to you in 3 turns. So if there were 4 green meeples, and you need a green meeple, but there's another one in there you need to grab now, you can be assured that green one's going to come back around to you. So.
Yep. So that was Draftosaurus. That's one of the games we played there. You can talk about the other game we played.
Well, to be honest, I can't remember. I know that.
Come on, man.
Which one? Oh, the
it was like we were just loving it, man.
Talking about it. Well, see, I had a list. I played 4 of them actually.
Oh, you played.
Carlos came for a brief period, but I was up there with my kids. And
yeah, you were there the whole day.
We hung around, and we were there. I think it was about 10 hours, me and the 2 kids, and so we played a game just the 3 of us, and then we played another game with with Dan, the owner of Your Turn, and then Will.
Well, you talk about the game you played without me.
Okay, well,
and I want to know about it.
Yeah, I'll jump over to Raiders of Scythia. So this is, I've got it up here on the BGG. It's an 8.2 rating on BGG. It's a fairly new game. Came out in 2020. This is in the Raiders line. I believe there were 3 Raiders games before, and this one is the 4th, and I believe maybe the final, or at least the final that they've announced, I think, in the series. And a lot of people had said on this one, I have not played all of the others. I had played Raiders of the North Sea.
We played that one together at
Dice Tower Con, I believe.
Dice Tower Con.
Yep, we played that one. And I think I had played one of the other 2, but I can't remember which one it was. But in any case, there was at least one in the series I had not played. And Raiders of the Scythia is, from what I'd heard, was a game that tied in some of the best mechanics of the 3 games that came before it. And a lot of people like it because it gets to the combat part of the game, which is the meat of most of those games, quicker. In some of the other games, you spend a bunch of time, maybe the first third of the game, doing resource collection, resource management. It's a worker placement game, so you're placing out workers in different areas of the board. And I'll bring up some pictures here as I talk about it. But you're placing out workers, and you're collecting some resources, and you're drafting. Oh, I heard a phone ring.
I think I heard a phone ring. Let's see if we can get this thing to work.
Let's jump over, yeah.
Hey, caller, you're on the Beans and Dice podcast. State your name, where you're calling from.
Hey, it's Dave from Riverview.
Hey, Dave. Hey. How are things in the Riverview gaming area? Yes, sir. We got you loud and clear.
Well, I'd say it's the Riverview hobby area. I don't know if there's a lot of gaming going on down here, but getting a lot of painting done during the pandemic.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. We'll take that.
I'm getting prepared for gaming sometime in the future.
Yeah.
So,
lots of time for
today
that.
Today was mail day.
Ooh.
So I got, I stopped by Cool Stuff this afternoon to pick up some store orders.
Sweet.
So I got myself a game that some of you guys already have, which is Aliens, Another Glorious Day in the Core.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think William Sepulveda has it.
We touched on that, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mostly bought it so I could substitute the minis and the Nemesis, but I heard the game's not bad. So I'm gonna give it a swing. I've watched a couple playthroughs online, and it seems okay.
I think the Secret Cabal podcast just did a review of it on their podcast. They did a really good discussion on it.
Oh yeah.
So you might want to catch that one.
Yeah,
and make a decision before you.
I'd actually heard that this week.
Yeah. To me, it made me want to play it.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. And then Unmatched, the release of Little Red Riding Hood versus Beowulf.
Oh, yeah.
That's on my list.
That box came in today, too.
Sweet.
That Unmatched series is good. Have you had a chance to really dig into that yet?
Yeah, I've played them all except for Buffy. I really don't navigate or gravitate towards that IP.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I've got both of the base sets, the Legends of Kings or the Legends one, and then the Covenant Fog and
did you get your Bruce Lee?
Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
of course I got Bruce Lee.
Dude, I mean, and he is just overpowered though. He came in and just destroyed the Raptors like it was nothing.
Karate
chop. I had played him against Sinbad, and Sinbad had a bad day.
I think everybody's going to have a bad day against Bruce Lee.
Oh, yeah?
Let me know how he plays against Robin Hood, because I feel like there might be some creep going on with each publication that they're getting stronger.
It's Bruce Lee. I mean, there's a lot of jokes about Chuck Norris, and there's not any about Bruce Lee. You know why that is?
Because you don't joke around.
Bruce Lee ain't no joke.
There you go.
We got to play that one together.
And then I got some Marvel Champions decks that I was behind on. So I got Ant-Man and Wasp. So that's a great game if you haven't tried it.
I have not yet.
Especially if those have tried the Arkham horror card game. It's the same system.
Yep.
Just gravitated towards heroes. So I would call it a better version of Sentinels of the Multiverse.
Oh, wow.
Now you have the epic. You have the epic Marvel universe with that cooperative fixed deck. Kind of fixed deck. It's a deck builder, but it's like the Magic the Gathering type deck builder where your deck is set before the game.
Yeah, before the game starts, your deck is set.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of like the Arkham Horror LCG. That's a big statement because Sentinels of the Multiverse is a good one.
I know we've played little Sentinels, but that was one of the early games actually you introduced me to, Carlos.
Yeah, it's an oldie.
Yeah.
I think that was one of our first card games was Sentinels.
Yeah.
And, me and my son have played every expansion that's come out up through Oblivion and love that game. And then you take the Marvel IP with a lot of the good mechanics and a little bit of the only thing that Sentinels kind of lacked was the ability to help somebody on their turn. You had to wait till it got around to you before you could do something that helped your teammates. And Marvel has the ability to quick throw a lifeline out to somebody during their turn. So,
okay. So you don't have to. In Sentinels, you had to wait as your action. You did an assist where you help somebody.
Right. Yeah. You could do an action that you initiate a power or play a one-shot card that allows your team to get better or heal somebody. But Marvel Champs seems like more of a true co-op where somebody needs to do an action before the end of the villain round, and you could allow something to help them out. So Champions is a great game. It's probably the only game I've ever soloed. I'm not much of a solo gamer. If I'm going to play without other people, I'll usually play a digital version of the game.
Okay.
But I've probably soloed Champions about a dozen times. So.
Wow.
I've heard that. I've heard that Champions, much like Arkham Horror LCG, is good for a solo.
Yeah.
Is a good solo game.
Yeah, and the fans of Arkham, I think someone said that the campaign in Arkham is a deeper payoff, but I'm a Marvel nerd, so any chance I can get to bring that IP into a good game.
Yeah, I was going to say way different IPs, so they're definitely going to appeal to different people. I've touched on. We played a little bit of Arkham.
I fell asleep to
together.
That one.
You fell asleep in the fourth.
See, we got to get a list going of all the games I fell asleep to.
Yeah, we actually need to take pictures of you and start archiving them as
that's pretty bad.
As you fall asleep. There's at least 3 or 4. It was Viticulture. There's Arkham.
Way of the Panda.
Way of the Panda, probably. Yeah. Actually, I know that one. Yeah, for sure. That's funny.
All right, so that's what you've acquired. I saw you posted online.
I did get a game in.
Yeah, what have you played?
I did get a game with a physical person about 2 weeks ago. Some of you guys might know Nathan Byangel from. He's originally from Florida, but now lives in the Atlanta area. Big into conventions. A lot of us have maybe played a game with him at a convention, but he was working down in Sarasota a couple weeks ago. So we got together, him and his wife, and I played Tidal Blades, Heroes of the Real.
Oh, nice.
So I had the deluxe Kickstarter version. So, we fumbled through the rules as much as we could. It's not too hard of a game, but it is, there's a lot of timing things that happen during the game. It's basically a worker placement dice. I won't say drafting because you have to improve your dice. You have to manipulation. You start out with a set of dice. and go to spaces that upgrade your dice,
Okay.
or do stunts that give you dice. And
let me ask, when you say upgrade, are we doing like Dice Forge where we're changing the faces of the dice?
No, they have like a tree of dice improvement. So your initial dice are like novice dice, and then they have like one of 4 symbols on it, and then some blanks, and then as you gear your dice pool to a challenge or a monster fight, they have certain symbols you need to match to accomplish those things or win those fights. And so you're upgrading your dice to a different level, like a red side or blue side is the first switch.
So you're swapping the physical
the next die you get is going to have more of the red symbols and only like 1 failure.
So it's like improving your dice pool.
Symbols. Correct. Yeah, it's like specializing. Like if you had a character, you say, "Well, I'm going to go on this skill tree."
It's like Descent. Descent has dice that are different color, and they tend to have different results.
Kind of thing.
Yep. There you go.
Exactly.
Now, tell me about the game, though. I keep seeing pictures of it. Like I see pictures everywhere.
It's a pretty game. Yeah,
it's gorgeous. It's like a turtle.
The game itself is a work of art. I mean,
who am I? Who am I in the game? What am I trying to do?
You're one of 4 characters, and there's a 5th one in an expansion that comes out. The character came with the deluxe version, then the expansion is sold separately.
Okay.
But we're one of 5 characters trying to become a hero of the reef, kind of like the official bodyguards, the heroes of the realm kind of thing. So you're going to be one of the main guys, or girls actually, in the realm, to protect that country area from monsters and other threats. So they have like a stadium where you go do worker placement stuff to improve your skills. That's how you get better at those dice things. So you're actually training in different fighting styles is what they call it. So the symbols are
so it's got a martial arts feel to it.
Yeah. And then you have like an agility acrobatics area where you're trying to do things like, race around a track on like a wave runner. So getting
oh god, what's that arcade game title?
Or you're sitting on it, leaning back and forth.
Yeah. So it's got a beachy theme to it. Yeah. It's got a martial arts feel to it. Who's the bad guy? Like who do I want to beat up? The
bad guys are all the monsters that appear on the edge of the island chain. So those guys are out in what they call the fold. If you look at that picture, if you go back to the one with the board set, so I'm probably not watching real time.
Okay, that was close enough.
I'm back
that was
on
pretty
it now.
good.
I'm on it now. Yep.
But there's a part where all the monsters appear. So that's like an area where they quarantine the monsters on the upper left of where those boards are.
Okay.
So as the monsters appear, and we go there to fight the monsters. And then on the upper right is where you go to train. The little circular board is the athletic venue. And then you have some other stuff in the center where you can get some challenges. Things like kind of like Herculean, small tasks you complete to try and improve your dials.
So like
dials
Quest.
On the character board the dials on the character board on the bottom. Each character has their own board with the 4 dials, and that tells you how many dice you get to refresh each round, how many dice you get to roll when you're completing a challenge, how many cards you get to draw, and then the spirit dial. There's a whole stunt deck, and the higher your spirit dial, the better that economy is. So it's an engine builder plus, random, dice improver, but you're trying to match dice like Yahtzee style. You're going to roll dice to try and match symbols.
I didn't have, I saw pictures. It looked beautiful. It grabbed my eye.
Yeah.
I never once stopped to even ask, what is this game about? Like, look, it's a pretty cartoony game. Yeah. Moving on. But I like how it...
At the end of the day, you're just trying to get the best. You're trying to get the most champion points, and that's by fighting monsters and being on ahead of the leaderboard each round.
But I can appreciate how they went with a different theme. They just didn't go with the standard shtick of fantasy fighting, build your hero, go kill dragon.
Yeah, it's unique.
It's It's a really unique theme. You get a little bit of the, each character kind of has a little bit of the tropes. The little guy's the magic guy, the big hulking guy is the veteran warrior. The woman with the sword dust is a fighting specialist.
With the
and
fantasy,
Axel's the guy who does right. He's a fighter, and then Axel's like the rogue / thief.
The Final Fantasy sword going there.
Oversized.
Eamon's the barbarian, and Echo's like the mage. So I mean, you get the tropes, but you're not replaying the same tired characters in a different setting.
And I understand the storage solution for this. Is this game trays?
Game trays, yeah. They did a good job. I mean, I can't say I love that the box is twice as wide as every other game I own.
It's huge.
Taking it down to Sarasota was a pain.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit in the bag very well, but no, as far as setup, it was nice. Everything was in its place. The little dice tray, I just left the dice that are in it, so when you need an upgrade, you pick the die from the row you needed. So it was, I like games that help me, either set up quickly or even store stuff during the game.
Well, I know when the Kickstarter started showing up, that was all over the interwebs. Everybody taking pictures of that huge box, saying this is probably the biggest game you're ever going to own. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like the those of you that played like the old Milton Bradley Commander series stuff, the Shogun and Axis now, it's just that long. Yeah, it's not quite as thick, but it is that long. So all of us who have converted over to Calyx or the cubic shells or every other board game,
forget about
doesn't fit.
Yeah, forget about it.
And I think that's for a reason, because now you have to put it on top.
Oh, you got to display it.
You have to show people when you take your selfie.
Yeah, it's kind of like my Twilight Imperium has its own place.
I've known James for a few years, and he's pretty sneaky like that. He's a marketing guy. He's not. He was never. He comes from the corporate marketing world, so he knows things.
That's secrets.
Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you calling in and sharing that. Yeah, we will see you soon, I hope. I'm glad to hear you're getting out there and doing some live gaming. It's that human piece.
Yeah, I want to hear more about Blood Bowl 7s. I want to hear more about Blood Bowl 7s.
My brother, we have that on the list to talk about, and I hope to see you there. I got custom dice coming. We'll talk about that more, folks.
And an acronym. We got to get that game in. I'll get with you.
Yeah, he started painting it. Did you see that?
Yeah,
it's all painted and all organized. It's ready to go.
We're gonna do that soon.
I just gotta relearn the rules.
Man, you may not be able to see it, but there's two more microphones at this table. So when you're ready to come over and just like join in, we can do this conversation all day, because I think you and I can have just a talk for hours about games.
Just the two of you.
Yeah.
Good talking to you, brother.
All right, guys.
Bye.
I'll keep watching.
Appreciate it.
Your work, guys.
Thanks.
All right,
bye.
All right, folks, phone lines are back open. Phone line. I keep saying
phone line.
Phone line.
It's such a thing, yeah.
That Tidal Blade sounds...
and it's pretty. It's the first thing everybody notices. It's pretty.
And I like when we talk theme and story. That helps me to understand, is this something I want to play?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about Scythia.
Yeah, so Raiders of Scythia, just kind of jumping back to that. It's a card management. You're drafting these cards, these warriors that are going to go into your player board here. You can have up to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus your leader. Your leader stays static the whole game. They don't ever take damage. You don't ever lose them. They don't ever get hurt. They have a consistent ability. You draft these actually at the beginning. Well, you don't really draft them. You select them in reverse player order. So whoever's going to go last gets to choose their hero first, but you flip out one more than the number of players face up on the next to the board, and then you start selecting your heroes along with one just random character fighter that comes up with them. But anyways, you're going to have those first two. You can draft, you can play out of your hand. You'll have a hand of cards, up to 3 more. And just the short version is you're using these. They all have a small special ability in combat. They do very different things. Some allow you to evade hits. Some allow you to heal people. Some allow you to get extra benefits when you do battles in certain parts of the board. One of the cool things that this game added from the other Raiders games is that you also can buy and add on horses, steeds,
Okay, so you got mounts.
You got mounts, yep. And then you've got these eagles that you put on, and they allow you extra abilities. Some of them just buff you in combat. Some of them allow you.
So I have familiars.
Familiars.
I have
there
pets.
You go. Yellow pets that you're carrying around with you. Yep.
Okay, I'm liking it.
And these never die. You slot these onto your board. When you put them on, you can either put them on an empty space, which they don't help you unless they are paired up with a character. But if the character dies, which they do sometimes, you discard them out of the game. It may leave an empty slot that you then can play another character from your hand, and then they get the buff again of that mount or of that eagle card. And so there's a little bit of management there in the way you lay these things out and the way you pair them up with their familiars, with their friends.
Yay!
Yep, to help you out in battles. But let me see if I can get a closer up here of this.
Is it similar to Raiders of the North Sea, where big goal is resource collection, like getting resources in order to
do
execute raids?
Yep, to do raids.
It's a similar style?
It is. And again, the thing about this one that a lot of people have commented on is you'll see on this board there are 1, 2, 3, actually down here at the bottom there is a 4th section that you do these raids in. So you can do them in, Samaria, Assyria, Persia, in Greece, and they get harder as you go down the board. So earlier on in the game, you're going to be raiding up here in Samaria. You're going to be doing these easy raids. But one of the big things here is you'll see the section where you do your resource collection, your worker placement, and getting your resources to go on the raids is a very small section of the board. And a lot of the other Raiders games, this part of the game and this part of the board was about half, maybe a third at least, of the size of the board.
The part I did not like.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's because you would spend that much of the game collecting these resources. You'd collect, and then go on one raid.
I'd be broke. And then I'd have to go
start all over again.
I got to go get some ore, and I got to.
And this one it makes it a lot easier. The requirements to go on these raids are a lot simpler, and so you can.
Michael says objectives, and objectives. So he's talking about the objectives in Scythia.
Objectives. So that might be the quests, I'm guessing, that he's talking about. So yeah, each of the areas is going to have a face down, just a randomized. You see these square spots here. There's going to be face down tiles that you place, and then there's going to be a stack of resources on each one. And so as you go on the raid, the initial thing you're getting is you're collecting the resources, and you pretty much always pass the test. So when you do it, even if you're undermanned, it just is going to mean that you're going to take more wounds, you're going to take more damage in doing the raid, but you always pretty much succeed. And so you're going to collect the resources that you get when you do the raid. After you clear the resources that you get from the raid, you're going to flip over the tile, and that is going to then reveal a quest. And so one of the big things that you're collecting all these resources for is that you can then appear in kind of the worker placement area at the chief's tent. You see, if you place a worker here, you can have the option of either trading in this for these resources, or, and there's a picture of a tile down here, you can spend an action to trade in the resources that you've gathered to complete one of these quests that has already been raided. It's flipped over. When you flip it over, there's going to be a victory point number on there, and then there's going to be a certain distribution of resources that you gather from going on these different raids: gold, supplies, cattle, livestock, I think they call it, but there's a couple of others. But if you go up here to the chief's tent, then you can complete a quest as an action, and then you just trade in those resources. You take the tile off the board, you put it face down in front of you, and then at the end of the game, you're going to get those victory points that are in the corner. So they'll be printed on there.
So these locations have double impact in the game. So you've got the impact of getting in there the first time, and now it's got a second use as a quest.
Right.
So because in the Raiders of the North Sea, I felt like every time somebody went to a location that was nearby, it just erased everything that was there.
Right. It was a one-shot deal. Yep.
Right. And I'm still over here trying to collect enough iron to be able to sail my ship, and then by the time I do it, everything nearby is gone.
Right. Exactly.
So I like that.
And like I say, the big thing about this one is it gets you into the fighting a lot faster. That's been the comment I've just seen over and over and over again about this game, is that it's a lot less. There is still the worker placement and the resource gathering a little bit, but you're usually doing that one, maybe 2 times, and then you're going on a raid. And then you're maybe going back and picking up just 1 or 2 resources, and then you're going on another raid. So you're really spending the bulk of the game, probably 2/3, 3/4 of the game, actually going on these raids, collecting these resources, turning them into complete quests, and get victory points. So It's really unique. I like it quite a bit. I've only played it the one time so far. Again, it was me and the two teenage kids, and they liked it a lot. Actually, my daughter, I think, was the biggest fan of it. As soon as we get done playing, as I typically will with them, I'll always ask them, so what'd you think about that one? What was your first impression? And my daughter jumped in and immediately, and she's like, that was good. That was fun. I want to play that one again. So I was a little surprised because it's not light. It's definitely not heavy, but it's definitely not a gateway entry level game. It's more of a gamer's game for sure. And so I'm interested to see how this one grows. It came out fairly late in the year. It was definitely the second half, I think, of 2020. And so I think a lot of people still haven't either heard of it or just haven't tried it out yet.
The historical theme has me wanting to try it out.
Yeah.
But I stayed away from it because of my experience with Raiders of the North Sea.
Right.
Does this have the mechanism of worker placement where it's taking off when you get it?
It does. Yep. You place in an area that does not have a worker, and that's one action, and you do whatever that action is, and then you take from another area anywhere on the board. You take a one, and that does a second action. So you get two actions every turn.
That burned my brain. I remember that.
Yeah, that is the trick, and that's what
that
the
is like
Raider
worker
series.
Placement, like level up.
Yeah, 102 instead of 101.
Yeah,
it's one step up further. But that is the big unique, I think, hook for these Raiders games is that it's got that place one and take one. But and then it also has, as you may remember from Raiders of the North Sea, it does have these colored spaces. And so depending on, in some of the spaces that have these two different colors, depending on which color of meeple you place, you may get a slightly better outcome. Like up here on the farm, if you place a blue or a white meeple, you gather two of these food resources. If you happen to place a red one there, you can either gather three, or I forget what this other symbol is. It's
It kind of feels like the grande meeple, like the big meeple.
Yeah,
Coming
from viticulture, or
learning when to trigger, when to use that.
Yeah. So
and having them available to be able to use it.
Yeah, this was definitely a fun game. I'm looking forward to playing again. I think both of the kids are looking forward to playing. So we'll get back to it soon. We'll have to get you in on the next game maybe and get your impression on it.
Thanks for sharing. That is on. I love the theme of me. I like the historical games.
Yeah, that's big for you and my son as well. That was something that kind of drew him in. He's just now starting to get interested in history and stuff, and so he liked it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, that's Samara," or I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he was like, "Yeah, that's significant." So
please let him know in the comments.
Pick that up. Yeah, they will. Yeah.
English is not his first language,
or maybe it is.
All right, that same day.
Yep.
It's good because my son was volunteering there. He's doing some volunteer work there, and I dropped him off. We played some games, and then we came back and picked him up, and it's when we saw you.
Right.
So you spent the whole day there, but I was just there for the morning. But we did get to play a game that I fell in love with. It's called Super Skill 4Cade. Super Skill Pinball 4Cade.
Yep.
It's a weird name, but it's a roll and write. Flat out, it's a roll and write game.
Yeah.
And at first I wasn't sure what I was going to think, but once we played it, it felt like in my mind, I felt like I was playing a pinball game.
Yeah, immediately. I think almost as soon as you pick up the pieces and there's a little half marble cut in half almost. A
shiny chromed out
plastic
marble
piece.
cut in half, and it looks like a pinball.
Yep.
And so when you're playing the game, you're effectively playing a pinball game.
Right.
And it is pretty much 4 solitaire games going on at the same time. Everybody's playing their own game.
Right, yeah.
But we're all sharing the same dice roll.
Right.
And you're making decisions based on those dice rolls. So people could have the same thing. But it looks like we got a call.
Got a caller, yeah.
So let's check that one out.
Over there.
We'll jump over here. See if I can get this phone to answer. And Beans and Dice Podcast, state your name, where you're calling from.
Carlito, this is Nick.
Hey,
calling
Nick.
from Wesley Chapel.
Oh, Nickel Papadopoulos.
That's right.
From Wesley Chapel. How you doing,
From
Nick?
Wesley Chapel.
That's right. I'm doing very well, thank you. It just got out of my Thursday evening axe throwing and calling you guys.
Awesome. What have you been up to since, last night was Gloomhaven, so we played a little Gloomhaven, but I'm sure you have other stories to tell.
Indeed, yeah. So I got a couple of Kickstarters. We're still in Kickstarter season. I keep telling my wife it's still Kickstarter season because of all the pandemic and all the delays and everything. So don't mind don't mind the regular delivery of cardboard coming.
These are not the packages you're looking for.
No, these are me.
That's right. That's right. No, so I got a couple of good ones. Canvas, the light art-based one.
That is all over the boards, man. Those pictures are everywhere.
Another pretty game, yeah.
Yeah, it's neat. It's really cool. It's a little thinky if you want to go that route, but you can also just lose yourself in making a pretty picture, which is really neat.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is every game there's 4 scoring conditions that change. They shuffle across. I think there's like maybe 10 or 12 total that might come up that every game you play with 4 of them. So almost no matter what you do, you're going to get some points, you're going to score, you're going to get trophies or whatever. But the kids really enjoy just kind of putting together the different pictures and whatnot. But
did Wifey get to play?
Joyce has not played yet. Actually, it's a good point. I've spammed it a few times with the kids, and then my 6-year-old Lindsay just spent the time making paintings and whatnot. So it's mostly me and Landman, and I actually soloed the game. Something I'm not in general. I'm not a solo board gamer in general. That's what video games are for.
Sure.
But it goes both ways. You can use that logic to say, well, if you have fun playing video game solo, maybe you'd have fun playing board game solo. So I've actually convinced myself to learn games now. If they come with a solo mode, I'll go ahead and do that. Because that way I feel more confident teaching the kids, and they don't have to like sit and wait as we rifle through the rule book and stuff, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, I know. I was just talking about the 4K, the Super Skill Pinball 4K, and I ended up soloing that with no regret. And I'm not a solo guy either. I'll say that the games Super Pinball 4K and the Arnak. Lost Ruins of Arnak are 2 games that have come out with a solo mode that really impressed this not solo player.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Actually, honorable mention then, this is like super cheap, and I picked this one up based on recommendations of another YouTube channel. Not that I watch anyone else but you guys.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you're our second. You're our second viewers. There's only 2 viewers.
Yeah.
The first one already called. You're the second viewer.
Yeah.
I think we might have a third in Alaska. That's it.
I forget if I mentioned it before, but Palm Island. I'm just throwing it out there as this is like a $10 game you can find on Amazon. Palm Island. It's specifically a 1 or 2 player game, and it's kind of the name of it is tongue in cheek. You play the entire game holding cards in the palm of your hand, and the cards are plastic, so you could like take them anywhere. You can literally jump into a pool and then play this game holding the 18 cards in your hand. And which is
I'm buying it flat out. Anything that I can take with me anywhere, I'm so like I don't know why I love those types of games.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
like dominoes, the hex game, the bug hex game.
What's the? So I was just thinking of. I can't think of the name.
I know.
Yeah.
Hex bug, but
make sure if you do, and check out on Amazon or your local friendly game store, of course. But make sure
Michael Fortino, if you're listening, Palm Island, put it on the books for Carlos, please.
Put it on the board.
Put it on the board.
But make sure you get the plastic edition. They actually do have, I think, a traditional card edition, and then for like $2 more, they have one that's like laminated plastic instead of just paper cards.
Okay.
Hive. David Carlton just chimed in. Hive. That's the name of the game.
Hive. There you go, David. Thanks,
game.
David. Yep. Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of it here on BGG. We're showing them, and I see. It looks like
hex bug game. Don't make fun of me.
Yeah, these cards are laminated. They are pretty jagged corners. It almost looked to me like
I think somebody did a print and play. That looks like a print and play.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the cards are coming out now that are all plastic. The Conflict of Heroes, the World War II game that I taught you years ago.
Yeah.
And when I was, you didn't have a lot of friends to game with, and I was able to make you play these games. Has done a 3rd edition, and all the cards are plastic. Like, you don't need sleeves anymore. They're 100% plastic. You can spill beer on them. Max burns. You don't have to worry about them spilling beer on them. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to find that one. Thank you, sir.
It's not that we all remember him spilling in a game of Scythe.
Scythe, yeah.
No, my Scythe remembers it.
Oh, yeah, Scythe remembers. Scythe never forgets.
Scythe never forgets.
I love it. But yeah, so Canvas is a lot of fun. Very, very fun. The drafting card mechanism in it is very familiar for folks. Anyone familiar with the Century card system, where there's a common market. We're talking back to Canvas now. Common market of cards, and you can always take the cheapest one for free, or you can pay more money, pay more, whatever.
Yes, to buy the ones farther out.
Buy the ones farther out, but then you drop your money on the cards you're skipping, so it incentivizes people to take those later on, and blah blah blah. So very, very easy to approach mechanism, and a lot of fun. The other game, real quick, because I know I'm taking up all your time.
Sure, go ahead.
That's what we're here for.
Enchanters. This was a Kickstarter. Enchanters is a card game. East Quest. I think it's East Quest is like the actual Kickstarter that was a recent expansion they did. But in that Kickstarter, if you were new to the Enchanters world, you could go all in and get like all the versions ever printed or whatever. And of course, that's what I did. This was a neat card game as well, where it's similar kind of thing where you've got a market of cards, and just like Canvas, you can pay to skip, though you don't leave money behind. You simply have to pay more if you want to skip deeper into the market. And in the meantime, you're building up the cards you're drafting. You're building up weaponry and enchantments of your weaponry, because you are an enchanter and you're trying to be able to defeat more and more powerful monsters, where monsters are coming out from the deck just like the items do. And so you, instead of taking an item, you could instead take a monster, and when you take one, you have to fight it with whatever gear you have purchased.
So when you're purchasing from the tableau, you have a choice of purchasing cards that do item stuff, or actually a monster to fight. Correct,
exactly right. And so in the beginning, if a powerful monster comes out, it's kind of like, well, screw that, now I can kill it. So you draft your enchantments and your weapons and your shields, and then you start taking out the monsters. And so it becomes a little engine-y, because as you draft more and more weapons or enchantments, they do stack on top of each other. You only get the special effect of the last one you drafted, but many of them then have a persistent a bonus just for having drafted it previously. So if you get a short sword, right now the short sword is going to give you +2 attack, and you have an ability. But then if you upgrade to a long sword, you still have the 2 attack from the short sword plus whatever the long sword does. So you're getting more and more epic and powerful. It kind of simulates leveling up, but in a real quick play card game. And then, later in the game, you just get to the point where you're just waiting for powerful monsters to come out so you can kill them and get the victory points. And you just play through the deck.
My middle school mind, just because I try to get everything in theme and story, right? Yeah. I just picture taking my dagger and like duct taping it to the longsword. Thus, I still keep my dagger bonus.
Combo.
But by the end of the game, I've got like a broom duct taped to
a flashlight
with a laser pointer.
Yeah, that's what it is. Now the neat thing about Enchanters, and it's almost daunting, because I feel like I have to play it 20 more times to get my money's worth, is the big thing is the decks you're drawing from are going to be, depending on the number of players you have, 2, 3, or 4 decks. Are you familiar with like Smash Up, where there's like ninjas and aliens and all these different decks, right? So Enchanters is like that. There's a deck of like ninjas, and there's a deck of dragon dudes, or a deck of unicorns, or a deck of bandits, or a deck. I mean, there's literally like, I did the all in. So I think I've got like 20 different decks. And every time you play, you play with like 3 of them, and you shuffle them all together. So the items that you're drafting and the monsters you're fighting are heavily dependent on which 3 decks you happen to be playing with. And like I said, I've got like 20 decks. So
sure.
It's
my scimitar duct taped to my axe, duct taped to my ninja stars.
Yeah. Crossing your feeds there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Crossing streams.
Yep.
Yeah. And then it does. It's got some humor in the game, similar to like Clank, where it actually makes like pop culture references and whatnot. Yeah. So like, you mentioned like the ninja stuff. It'll talk about like I forget the fighting thing it was, but there was all the enchantments that you can draft they're very tongue in cheek of like classic fantasy type archetypes and whatnot. So
cool.
It's got some cute elements.
And that was Enchanters.
That was Enchanters.
So we talked Canvas, mixed in some Palm Island, came back to some Canvas, and then finished off with duct tape and Ninja Stars Axis.
Can't beat it.
This show, I mean, I don't know how this show is not more popular than.
Yeah, everybody's got to love this.
This content is amazing.
The other listener is really excited right now.
Yeah, the second listener, because there's two of you.
He's all over it.
Yeah, he is. What else? What about game wise? What have you played that maybe you didn't like, maybe it wasn't great? Anything out of the haul, right? Because you got all this stuff coming in, right? Everything can't be a gem.
Yeah. So that's a great question. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus.
You're such a nice guy, Nick.
Yeah.
He was always so kind.
Loves everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. No way it's fine. But although I need to be more discerning. So it's funny. I'll turn right back around and actually say that Enchanters, because I feel like in order to get my money's worth, I need to play it 20 more times, and it's kind of daunting. It's kind of like I don't know if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. But because it's like I feel like I haven't played the game and experienced it and gotten my money's worth until I cycled through so many decks. Whereas opposed to, like, let's say, Dwellings of Elderville. So I was going to ask about Dwellings. Yeah. So big fan of Dwellings. Landis and I played it. Me, Landis, and Leo played it. I would definitely solo that game. Literally, having only played it maybe 3 or 4 times, I'm already like, yeah, I've enjoyed this game. I'm not done with it.
Can't
right?
wait to play that
but
one.
Like, I feel satisfied. I feel good about playing this game. When I played Enchanters one time, I'm kind of like, well, okay, now I have to play it like 10 more times before I feel like I've played the game, right?
Sure.
Because there's so much more content which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Rob and I are on our 70th scenario of Gloomhaven.
70th hour, 80th hour, yeah.
So I don't mind playing the same game again. I just, I will say after the first play of Enchanters, I felt a little like, well, I don't know if I like this game yet or not because I feel like I haven't played it yet, if that makes sense, right? Like there's so much untapped content.
No, I agree with you wholly.
I've been there.
The difference, I guess, for me, my parallel to that would be Blood Bowl. With 27 some odd teams in Blood Bowl, I feel like I haven't played them all.
You want to experience it
and
all?
I want them all, and I start collecting them all, so then I start buying them all, and it's all plastic, so I feel you.
There's not enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm glad Enchanters is on my shelf, but I feel like I'll never actually play everything I bought. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's not that the game is bad. I feel like I'll never actually play it enough to experience the whole game.
Right.
Which is a weird feeling.
Yeah, it is weird.
Now, that could just be
that's something kind of unique to us. I kind of feel that way. I try to stay away from that consciously. I know Carlos is almost the
complete opposite.
Polar opposite. He'll get all into these games, and then he'll blitz them, and he'll play a little bit of it for about a month, and then something new comes along, or we move on to a different board game. I talk him into something else. But
ADD is real, folks.
Yeah, but I did that a little bit with Funko, the Funko verse, and when stuff started coming out, the game was okay. I liked the game. It wasn't bad. But I started buying everything as stuff came out. I started buying it, and I just didn't have enough time to play it. I wasn't completely invested. I wasn't completely interested. I liked the game fine, but I wasn't fascinated with it where I needed to play every character and figure out every little nuance of it. And now it's sitting on my shelf, and more stuff is slowly leaking out. It's definitely
but it's so easy to fall into that trap when the games themselves are in that $20-$30 range.
Yeah, a little bit at a time.
Because it's really not that bad of a decision to make. Like, right, that's like a lunch.
Yeah.
Right. We have families of 5. When we go to dinner, it's expensive.
Yeah.
If you go to lunch with a friend, that's a box. So it's like, I'll buy that box. That's an impulse buy.
Yep. Anytime it was $5 off at Target, I'd pick the next one up.
Impulse
I gotta have
buy.
that. It's cheap. It's quick. I'm just gonna buy it. I'm gonna put it in my. I have
And then never
box
play
and
it.
a half. Yep, and it's just they're just all stuffed in there. I've played probably less than half the characters. I played a handful of games, and I don't know that I'll ever get back to it. But I'm kind of glad I have it because it's cool to look at. But I just don't. Yeah, it doesn't fulfill me the way some of the other games like Lost Ruins of Arnak. We played that one time, and it was like, whoa, let's do that again. Let's
Right,
do that
because
again.
that's a deep river that we just want to go wade in.
Yep. That's one we wanted to spend time on. Yep.
Nick, thank you for calling, man. I really appreciate it. This helps. So we're gonna open up our phone line again. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks,
Drive
Nick.
safe.
Absolutely, man. Have a good night.
Good night.
Our phone line is open, 813-618-7099. We're still taking calls and talking about games until we're done here, until you're done. But we'll keep it going.
Tell me a little more about pinball.
Oh yeah, so you were there. The
Yeah.
super skill pinball 4K.
There you go.
It's a mouthful.
It is. It's a long title.
Pinball.
Yeah.
So it starts off as just a roll and write game, but by the time you get just a couple of turns in, you feel like you're playing a pinball game.
Yeah. I know we both looked at each other about maybe 5 or 10 minutes into this game. We were like, oh, yeah, this feels like pinball.
And the kids were with us, and they're like, we don't understand you old people.
What the heck is pinball? my teenagers have never touched a pinball machine, and that's mostly my fault, obviously. But
Which makes me want to say, let's go find an arcade with pinball machines so the kids can understand what we're feeling here.
Yeah.
But you roll 2 dice, right? The 2 dice you're going to roll is going to determine, you're going to choose one, and that'll determine what the pinball hits.
Right.
And there's 4 different tiers.
Zones
on this pinball machine that's your display board.
Yep.
And as your ball starts at the top of the board, you're going to pick one of those 2 dice that were rolled, and you're going to hit something with that dice number on it in that zone. And you're going to scratch off that thing you hit. And it's going to give you points.
Right.
And then you roll the dice again, and everyone simultaneously will pick one of the 2 dice to then say where their pinball hits in the zone below it.
Right.
So you're feeling like your pinball's coming down from the top to the bottom, with gravity, and just hitting these different targets that you're selecting based on the numbers you rolled. As the ball comes down into the last zone, which is the flipper zone, the flipper zone. You got to have some flippers available, meaning dice results, D6 numbers, for it to hit. Right. Replay Museum in Tampa has tons of pinball machines. Pay by the hour, I think, says David Carlton.
I've heard of that. Yep.
We're gonna, we'll have to go there.
Maybe we'll do
and
it.
Play there. Record our playthrough of
Pinball Arcade.
Pinball Arcade there.
Yep, at that spot. Yep.
Thanks, David. So that when you get to the flipper zone, each flipper has different numbers available, right? So like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Right.
And as it hits the flipper, you got to mark off the number that you selected on the die to say, all right, this flipper is shooting it back up.
Yep.
So now the ball is going to go flying back up the board, and you got to decide which zone you want it to land in.
And the color. You got a red flipper and a yellow flipper.
And a yellow flipper. Red flipper sends you to the red side. Yellow flipper sends you to the yellow stuff.
Yellow targets, yeah.
3 different yellow targets, 3 different red targets. And now you're going to roll the dice again and pick something new that the ball's going to hit based on where it ended up back up in the zone. And you're going to repeat this process until you run out of flipper spots.
Out of flipper spots.
Once you're out of flipper spots, you no longer have the ability to flip the ball up, and your round ends. And then you have 3 rounds to play the game.
3 balls.
3 balls. Except for multi-ball.
That was fun.
Oh man, that made the game. So the flippers are going to flip until you run out of flippers, then you end your round, and then you get a new ball, and you clear off all the wipey stuff. You wipe off all the stuff that you marked off, and you get to remark again.
Yep.
So how do you get points? Like, how do you get more points, right? You want to get combinations of stuff. So there's different areas that go say, hey, if you fill in all of these, you get this one of these bonuses.
Yep, or this many points. Or,
Right. You fill this in, and you get to score points. The bumper zone was one of my favorite zones.
Here in the top, yeah.
Yep. So up in the top, we played the circus round.
Right. See, there are 4 different boards, and I understand they get more complex as you play through them. We've only played the first one, the circus board, yeah.
And the bumper zone says, hey, listen, you hit a 3 on the last one, right? But if you select a 4 on the next one, you get to just bump me over and stay in the zone. So the ball doesn't fall down towards the flipper.
Allows you to bump around up
so
there.
you're just kind of hoping to keep this ball bouncing around up in the bumper zone. Bing, 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 bing. Scoring point every time.
And then once you knock them all off, they all reset. You erase the whole zone, and then you can keep going around and around.
Scoring a point every time you hit. So it's like keeping that ball up in the air, but you're never going to really get it.
Oh no, yeah, of course not.
But then in the second to last zone, you get this area where if you fill up and knock down all of the flippers or the targets,
yep.
you get to then select different bonuses that you can use to help modify how you play the game.
Right.
So one of them allows you to change the direction of the bumpers. So
you can go either way. You can go up
normally
or
it's
down.
clockwise.
Right.
Now you can go counterclockwise.
Right.
So you can really keep that ball up in the bumper zone.
If you can get it up there, you can keep it up there for a while.
Right,
Yep.
until the ball dies, right?
Yeah.
And then the cool one is multi-ball. So multi-ball says, hey, add another ball to the board. So now you got 2 balls on the board,
Right.
which makes it harder.
Or it does, because now you got to use both of those dice.
Yes.
Yes.
The ball's going to be up there. You got to roll the 2 dice, and instead of selecting one of the 2, each ball has to go to one of the 2 dice.
One of the dice, yeah.
So each dice has to get assigned to a different ball. That adds some really like deep thinky.
Right.
And then you're trying to manage keeping both of these balls in the air with the flipper because as long as you have 2 balls on the board, every point doubles.
Right. Yep,
every single point you score
twice
doubles. The bumpers normally score you 1 point. Now they score you 2 points.
Yeah.
So you're like really incentivized to keep the balls just ping, 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 ping off the bumpers in the top because you want to run through that whole cycle over and over and over.
And then on this beginner board, you've got the strongman ramp, which was a little.
This is where
special
you
area
got the big points.
That was me and I think maybe me and somebody else checked that off. But this one, if you get it up here in this red zone, every time you knock it up into this area, you have to do it in order. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have to get a red 2, and then you'll fall back down, and you have to bump it back up. Get a red 3.
The tough part is you have to be at the red flipper,
right?
And one of the dice on the roll has to be a 2
in order to,
and then 1, 2, 3,
yeah,
right. And then when you get to the 6, on that strength challenge,
the points start multiplying.
It's 20 points.
20 points, and if you're multi-ball and you get that 6,
it's 40 points.
Yeah.
Oh man, pinball! But we got a call coming in. Let's see who this is. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name and where you're calling from.
Hey guys, it's Patrick from Temple Terrace.
Hey Patrick.
Hello, Patrick. How are you? I want to say thank you for the Draftosaurus
recommendation.
Yep, the recommendation on Draftosaurus. Armada had it. I scooped it up. We talked about it earlier.
Nice.
I gave you a shout out. Wasn't sure if you heard it.
No, I wasn't. We were just finishing up our Gloomhaven scenario, actually.
Oh, nice. Little Jaws
With
of the Lion.
family.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah. No, it was good. We lost big time.
Oh,
but,
it happens. It happens.
Let me ask. Did you do like what Carlos would do and just kind of like finagle the game to just make it a win?
Oh, yeah, we beat that. Yeah, we beat that.
Yeah, we beat that.
No. I definitely we died. We died.
You did it the right way. Yeah, that's what my game does. Yeah. We play it straight up.
So now we're just going to turn down the dial to 0 level or level 0 on the enemies. I guess
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
It was, I think it's Jaws of the Lion playing the 3rd scenario, the little training scenario, and it just got tougher for us, and we're just like, oh man.
Sometimes that game will just go wrong, even at the lower levels, and actually probably even more so before you start leveling the characters up. You're going to hit just bad card draws, and it does require a little bit of grinding. When I think back about a year and a half ago to when my group started the regular Gloomhaven, we lost more scenarios probably in that first month of playing than we did in the next 12 months of playing, just because you got to do that initial grind and get some cards in your deck, understand how they work, what order to play things. Yeah, it happens.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what we were getting at. It was just kind of confusing, and I realized the Void Warden, which is kind of like the control wizard character, is way more difficult to play than I initially thought, especially when you're adding more cards with more mechanics.
Definitely the hardest of the 4 that are there in the Jaws of the Lion. Yep, that's the one that requires the most skill. Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of a very yin and yang with that character.
Yep, and
it helps, but it hurts.
Some of those cards have text that you kind of really got to read and really understand what it does. Yeah,
but no spoilers here, folks. No spoilers here. Yeah. So I'll ask you, Patrick. For me, the idea of failing and having to repeat it always stuck in my craw. So I really, although I didn't like the way the game ended up for the Lord of the Rings journeys in Middle Earth, I loved how the story continued forward, whether or not you succeeded at the mission. So I felt like I was always moving that story forward. What are your thoughts on Gloomhaven making you repeat it versus a game that would allow you to keep the story going?
I'm not against it, because I'm really enjoying like Gloomhaven, especially this. I don't mind having to turn down the dial, making it a little bit easier while we're figuring out. Especially Lauren. Lauren needs to she's playing the Demolitionist, and she really needs
my character. Go ahead.
And I'm just like, man, I wish I had chosen that now.
I know. When Rob started flying with his rocket boots and like punching through stuff, I'm like, oh my god, that's so mean.
And you push him up against the wall and just
pound him.
Back.
There she is.
There she is.
Got her on screen now. Yep.
Yeah.
What a great character.
Just figuring that out. I think. And Lauren's not a gamer. Like, she's not like us, where we're so used to like all these mechanics and everything like that. But she's getting it. But it's just, she just said it's easier to understand with my help. So
cool.
Kudos to me, and kudos to her for giving it a chance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're doing something right.
Oh man, that definitely deserves an achievement.
There you go, achievement unlocked.
That's huge.
She heard it. I don't have you guys on speakerphone right now. We don't even. I just saw that you were. I popped in, saw that you guys were still rolling, so I figured I'd call you in while I'm cleaning up.
Appreciate the call.
We always appreciate the call from anywhere, folks. I know we've got some folks in the chat chatting away, but hey, the phone lines are still there. Just call in. We love talking to people about games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, is it phone lines now, or is it just one? Or is it still?
Oh yeah. He keeps saying lines. That's going to be a thing. That's going to be a thing. We're going to have to get a second line, even if we don't activate it. We're going to have to have a second one just so he's not.
Just so I can say lines. We never use it, but we have it.
Yeah. So, did you guys get to play Draftosaurus at all, or no?
We did. We did get to play. We spoke about it earlier. We gave it a solid game.
Yep.
Wasn't anything super fantastic, but man, it hits the notes of giving you the feels of Dinosaur Island.
Yeah.
But in a gameplay that I can do with my young kids.
Yeah. Great game to play with the family for 15, 20 minutes, or again, even if you have an hour, you reset it, play it 3 or 4 times. It's a great filler game.
That's pretty much where we were at with it. We'll play it 3 or 4 times. Might move on to something larger or longer afterwards. But that's where we are. It's definitely a solid little filler game.
You know what though? Robert mentioned it when we played it, and we didn't talk about it when we discussed it today. But you talked about it in a way of teaching drafting, like those Lego building blocks, like Patrick, what your wife is dealing with now, right? You're throwing her into the deep end with some Gloomhaven stuff that has all these different mechanics of how to play a game. But Draftosaurus makes that easier because you can teach just that drafting piece, and that set collecting piece in a small light game. So when they move to the next game, like a Terraforming Mars next week, right? Take the 9-year-old to do that.
Of course,
they understand it because they know drafting,
right?
Well, exactly.
We need those kinds of games. I mean, and I mentioned, I think, when we were playing it, that Sushi Go has always been one of my big introductory drafting, just real light kind of party-ish style game. You can throw 4, 5, 6 people around a table and play Sushi Go. But this Draftosaurus is similar. I'd put it on par. It's quick, it's easy, it's fun. It teaches that basic mechanic, and then once somebody learns drafting and a couple of other hobby gaming types of games, you can really introduce them to that next step game and kind of bring them up. But like Carlos said, jumping into Jaws of the Lion with your wife there, that's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, what else do we used to play that's kind of like probably like in a way a dungeon crawl? We still have Mansions of Madness. Oh yeah. And we used to play that. I didn't play it that much, and it's really just fallen out of favor for me and just the family altogether. But yeah, that's something that we kind of played, and it's kind of along those lines, but it's probably a lot less forgiving, in my opinion, because you have to run most of the time. Yeah, but it's probably the closest thing. It probably might be that closest thing to a gateway into a dungeon crawl for us, at least.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for sharing, man. I really appreciate you calling in, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, bud.
We got to get together and play something.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we really do. All right, man.
Take care.
You guys have a good night.
Thanks, Patrick. Have a good night.
I love talking to people about games. Yeah. Super Pinball 4K. Super excited. We had a comment in here. Wayne Kruger said that Jeff Engelstein is clearly a super smart guy, but I've never been a fan of his games for some reason. And I can kind of understand that because he's a very mathy dude, so it kind of feels like everything is odds and numbers and math.
Yeah.
But I think this one hit off because the theme came through on this roll and write. I would have to say probably the best roll and write I've ever played.
Yeah. Welcome to is definitely one that I like a lot. I have not played Cartographers, and that's actually one I just talked to Dan over at
I haven't either.
Over at Your Turn about. I need to get in a game of Cartographers. I believe he has it there. He said he's definitely played it, and I need to try that because that's another one that gets a lot of press. A lot of people talk about Cartographers being one of their favorites. But yeah, I mean it's definitely it's up there.
But I mean, in any other roll and write, I don't think I've ever had like my blood pressure go up. I don't think I've ever had like a stand-up dice rolling moment.
Well,
I'm like, oh, I'm gonna flip this card.
And one thing I got to mention about that is, I don't know if you've tried it solo yet, but that is one of the big things about the Pinball, the 4K, is that a lot of people have said that is a roll and write that they would play solo anytime because you're just trying to beat your high score from the last time. Each game is so dynamic. Each game can be so different. And then I believe when we were looking at it, there's some accomplishments in the book that you can check off that if you do kind of weird things during your game, you can put your name in the book. And
it has like a scoreboard on the book where you can put in your name, almost like the old school pinball machine where you put in your initials because the kids are like, but it's only 3 letters, they said. I said, how it's supposed to be.
Initials.
When we were kids, that's all you had was your initials. It was CRC would be how I established my ownership of this game.
Or SUX if you were a cool kid, something like that. But
hey, we got a call coming in. Let's check this one out. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
It's Lorenzo from Temple Terrace.
Hello, Mike. Hey, Mike.
What's going on, guys?
Super Pinball 4K.
There you go.
Yeah, I played that for the first time actually with Dan about a week or so ago.
Oh,
that game is pretty awesome.
It is. Did it hit you in the nostalgia like it did us?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Did you guys play any of the other tables yet?
We haven't yet. We just played that Carnival one. Was it?
And I played. I played myself, but I stuck to the Carnival one because I mean there's complexity in these next ones.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna bust out this Netrunner looking one. No, I'm not.
That's what we.
Yeah, they get.
I'm going back to the clown.
Yeah, from
Come
what
here,
I understand,
bozo.
yeah, they start comboing all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we read the sheet for that one, the Netrunner or whatever one, and we were like, "Whoa, this gets pretty deep." It's not just like a straightforward pinball machine type game,
which is pretty cool, I guess, as long as it stays light enough. And I guess that's what we'll have to see as we play through them, that it doesn't get overly complex. But I mean, I think
solo wise, that's going to be great because this is going to give me a range of like I want the in depth, and I don't have to worry about analysis paralysis and interrupting the game of the flow.
Yep.
I'm jumping into Netrunner.
And I'll remember when I was in college, I had played some pinball when I was younger in the early, mid-'80s, and then going into the early 90s, these pinball machines became works of art and these metal ramps all over the place, and you're sending stuff up over
and
here.
They had like objectives that you had to complete.
Yep, do things in different orders, and you needed to go up this ramp at this time when this was flashing, and this and that, and so they
T2, man, Terminator 2.
I actually thought that
was.
Yep.
Every time I think of a pinball machine, that's the one I think of.
That one was crazy. You'd pick up your ball and move it over to a different area and drop it, and you'd be doing all kinds of combos over here.
I'll be back.
Yep, that's
That's I think that game is going to have some longevity if it's the perfect game to release expansions for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're already talking about
It'll be so easy.
An expansion, but not it's a expansion does not require the core box.
Okay.
Which is great about this game because
like a standalone.
They can all be pretty much standalone. And from what I understand, I was listening to Dice Tower podcast, and they were talking about how there was a print version. You can print out certain boards as extras, but this game on its own, I mean, I don't think it's going to take much to create new boards.
Oh, yeah.
There's not much to it, which is what, like, really surprises me.
I'm sorry, what was that?
There's not much to the game. There's just a couple, you know, it's two. You don't even need the scoreboard. The scoreboard's only there to mark points.
Yeah.
You just need that one piece of paper.
True.
It's great.
Yep. Very true.
It makes it easy.
I definitely see people creating their own tables.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just in my mind, I was just wondering if they'll ever try to get into IPs. I wonder, you know, if they'll go that route or they'll keep it generic. They'll probably keep it generic. I mean, it gives them a lot more options and it's a lot easier for them to get into stuff. But if they ever decided that they wanted to go back and make replicas of boards from the 80s and 90s, I mean, that would be another whole world. Yep. So, yeah.
Yeah, you'd be like Funko, collecting them all.
You got to get them all.
What else you got going on, Michael?
Actually, it's kind of funny that a lot of people are talking about playing solo games. I got you guys up here on the iPad, but I finally, it's like the last game that I had Shrink on, Legacy of Dragonholt.
Oh, yeah.
I created my character last night, and I was like, okay, I'm determined to play this game. And I started playing tonight, and this game is pretty badass. I mean, granted, I've only been playing for about an hour and a half, but the mechanics of it. Have either of you guys played this game?
I haven't. I've seen it and I've wanted to play it, but I have not.
I've not played it, but I've watched reviews on it, and it from what I gather, it's an RPG in a box.
Pretty much. It's like kind of like for lack of a better term, it's a which way book that plays off of skills that you have as a character, and then you have like stamina, but you also create like this whole backstory, and it kind of like, well, backstory, you create your character, what you look like, you know, what your ideals are. And you know me, I'm always a thief. I mean, if I can be a thief in a game, I'm always going to pick the thief to start with.
I lean that way too.
And if there's,
I don't think I've ever heard you say that, but it is so you.
Is it fitting?
It is so fitting.
Yeah. And if there's an elf class, I'm always, an elf thief. So I created this character, and not giving anything away in the book, because I mean, it's literally the beginning of the whole story, but they tell you, you know, play as your character would play as, you know, and there are these times where I'm coming across these decisions and I'm thinking, all right, I'm a thief. This is what I would have done if I was a thief.
Sure.
And then it would say, you know, if you have this ability, turn to this page, or you can do this, turn to this page. And I'd be like, oh, I do have that stealth ability, so I'm going to go to that page. And it plays out just like I would think it would, you know, like in a regular RPG. So it's
oh my God,
it's cool.
I see a lot of Is there pencil and paper involved in this?
Yes.
I think I'm buying this.
Oh yeah,
like I like all of my D&D feels like the toughest part for me with D&D is just getting people together to do it. That seems to be the toughest
and
part.
You can play multiple people with this, you know, and if you're playing with multiple people, you have like these stones that you exhaust. Depending on like if somebody makes a choice, they have to exhaust their stone, and then they can't make any more decisions until the rest of the people have exhausted their stones making decisions. So it's
that's
fun.
A way to deal with the alpha gamer.
Sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's awesome.
Exactly.
And then if they don't listen, you throw the stone at them.
Exactly.
You stone them.
You know.
Yeah. I wonder a little bit about the multiplayer, because this is obviously a very text-heavy, a lot of reading.
Very text-heavy.
That's what I've heard. It's a lot of story, a lot of just reading stuff, reading options, reading pages and pages of text, and then making a decision. You're soloing it right now, is that right?
Yeah, I'm soloing it. I would definitely say if you do not like in a group, if you don't like reading aloud, or you don't like listening to somebody reading aloud, this is probably not the game for you.
That's kind of what I've heard, is that there's a lot of that it can lose people in a multiplayer setting, because you're either reading or you're just listening, and sometimes you may have to listen for 20, 30 minutes before a decision point comes up or a plot point comes up, and so you can lose people. So yeah, I would think this might be a solo game that would take off. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my intent from the get-go when I picked it up.
Sure.
But, it's definitely action-packed right from the get-go, pretty much.
Oh, that's good.
So,
I'm enjoying it. I heard it's a great story. I heard it's really thorough, and it's really, and I will say, again, I don't know much about it. I haven't actually ever had the game or the manual in my hands, the book in my hands, but some people have said it is almost too detailed, that sometimes they drill down a little too far into details, and it gets a little dry because they may over-explain or over-describe something, but again, I'm sure
interesting.
Yeah, anybody can find a fault with anything, but that's one thing.
Kind of like a George R. Martin book.
Yeah, sure.
Where he can go for a whole chapter just talking about like the buttered onions,
the grassy knoll,
and the food that they ate, right, and the pigeon pie, and it goes a whole chapter on that.
I chalk that up to like Stephen King. He can spend 3 paragraphs on somebody's belt buckle.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Pennants and flags. George R. R. Martin will go like pages and pages just describing the pennant or the flag that someone's carrying.
But so far, you haven't experienced that. You haven't run into that, really?
No, not yet. And again, I just started the books or the story.
Sure. Yeah.
But,
cool. That's a cool one. That I've been interested in. I just haven't pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah. What else have you been playing?
I think you should. We've been playing. Well, my first 2. Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
We have Dan and Mo and I have been playing, and we got to April. I think we failed it twice.
Okay. Yep. Your last try.
No, we failed March. We failed March, and then we failed April.
Okay.
I mean, we eventually got. I don't want to give anything away, so I really can't say anything.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, we failed it twice.
Yep.
And we kind of, we failed it the first time. We're like, no, we can beat this. And we set it up again, failed it again.
Yeah.
But, we'll get past it eventually.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Oh,
go ahead. I was going to say, great game.
It's cool because they just keep adding new stuff and the rules keep changing, and
right.
It's pretty cool. That's like my first real experience with a legacy game.
Yeah.
And
it was a good time. We played it. It took us a while. I think we ended up saying what it was about 13 months of a real time play for us. We had a couple of dry spells here. But, we had a 4 of us playing through, so we had a 4-player.
But these aren't the folks that are part of our game group. This was family, friends, and family.
We played with my dad and then a friend of ours who's not as hardcore
adults,
gamer. Yeah.
So if you're not a hardcore gamer, life happens. It's hard to keep those games going.
Yeah, whenever we could get together, we were trying to shooting for 1 or 2 games a month, and we pretty well stuck to that. We had some periods where we made up and we might have played 3 or 4 times in a month, but we got through it. Lots of twists and turns in that game. It's fun. I can tell you got a lot of fun stuff coming up, but it's memorable.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's one of those games though. Once you've played it once, I don't think I'd ever try to go back and play it again. The unique part of it, the fun part of it, is those surprises that come up. So, but you're definitely in for some good surprises. Hopefully, you haven't had too much of it spoiled. I know it's been out for a little while, but it's a great game.
I've stayed away from any kind of spoiler, so it's 100% fresh for me.
Awesome. All right, well, I'll try to break
the only other game that we've been.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the only other game that we've been playing is Jaws of the Lion.
Oh, you have? Sweet. Okay. How far are you in that?
Dan and I are just playing that one ourselves.
Okay.
And we just started like maybe a week or so ago.
Okay.
And we're on scenario 4, and we have lost that one 2 times in a row.
Oh, okay.
We're quickly finding out that we need to use the basic movements on cards so that we don't lose them permanently in the areas, and knowing
cards.
when to use like the special powers on them. So
right, those lost cards, you gotta really be aware of when the right time to use them is, and definitely don't be afraid to use a top action just for a basic attack 2 or the bottom for a basic move 2, just so you don't lose them. But you don't want to run out of cards, and I usually try to play till about the halfway point of where we think we're about halfway through through the scenario. And then if I've still got a bunch of cards in my hand, then I can start popping those lost cards, getting those. A lot of those lost cards get you experience points, and so I know you kind of want to get those out because you want to get the experience, you want to level up. But it's a game you have to think about, and we've talked. Carlos and I have talked about it a lot. Again, my game group, the three of us that are playing, me and Nick and Joe, we've been playing for about almost 2 years now. Between we beat the base game, we've got 70, 80 hours in the base game, and then now we're playing through Forgotten Circles, the expansion, the additional 30 scenarios, and
nice.
Yeah, it's. If you can throw yourself into that game, it's an incredible world. It's an incredible experience, but it is tough, and you got to make decisions. Carlos, I was going to say we talked a lot because we had started Jaws of the Lion and we played through it with a couple of newer people, and it's a tough game because if you play purely just for fun, you're going to lose scenarios, and if you make bad decisions and you don't cheat, if you don't just skip through it and say, oh, we beat that one, we're just going to move to the next one. If you play it straight up like my group does, you've got to make good decisions, and you've got to think things through, and it can be a slower paced game if you play it to beat it. Carlos is on the other side. Carlos likes to dance through, and he likes
That's not dance. I like to role play my character.
Well, no, your character was dancing. Yeah, you were dancing around the bad guys.
He was a techno,
Yeah. So it was an experience when the two worlds collided, because Nick and I from my serious group we played a little bit with Dan and Carlos, and they were wanting to have a little lighter, good time. So
chaos. When chaos shows up and Carlos shows up, we're here to have fun.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know.
So worlds collided there.
Chaos has not shown up quite yet with our playing.
Probably because he recognized you do that too early, you die.
We've lost scenario 4 twice because we ran out of cards. So it's like we're quickly realizing we got to be a little bit smarter with our card use, and we'll get there eventually. But just the fact that I kickstarted the second time that Gloomhaven hit Kickstarter. Yeah. I've had it all this time, and I've played scenario 1 twice. I don't think I've played it correctly, ever. Yeah. And now that we have Jaws of the Lion, it's like, every game that is this involved should have these intro scenarios that just, these are the basic mechanics. Now we're going to add a couple more. Yep. Now we're going to add a couple more. It's done so perfect.
Isaac Childress is a brilliant man, and he's a brilliant game designer, and he designed a game and a world that I love to play in, but he didn't think about how to bring people into that, how to ramp it up.
Oh, I played one game with you guys of the base one, and I'm like, all right, I'm out. Yeah, bye.
We were about 5 or 6 scenarios in. He got in, and we were. He did not like the experience, but
Jaws of the Lion, that was a different experience.
Yep.
It baby steps ramp up.
Yep, baby steps you in. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the way to get in. Anybody who wants to play Gloomhaven now, I would say definitely 100% get Jaws of the Lion. Play that one first. Smaller investment. It ramps you up. You get an idea of whether you like it or not. And then if you fall in love with it, like so many obviously have at the top of the BGG rankings, then go full blown and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and I'm excited to finish it because now the thing that I'm so excited about finishing is like now I can move on to Gloomhaven and play it and know what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Yep.
So
absolutely. And
but tell me you're not going to be like a little bit upset that you got to pull out tiles to create the board. Like that book, the flipping of the book open to create the rooms is so awesome.
That is good.
It made it faster.
But I have an accordion thing where I've separated all the tiles in alphabetical order.
Just requires a little bit of organization.
I am not surprised.
A little organization in this world is a good thing. Yeah. And I can't wait for Frosthaven. That's coming out. Unfortunately, it sounds like from Isaac's updates on Kickstarter that it's slipping. They originally was shooting for around June. Now he's saying July, August, maybe September.
Well, we're hitting the Chinese New Year, too. Yeah. That's like February 2nd through February 20-something.
But Frosthaven's going to be a whole
I'll call it now. You won't get it till October.
Yeah, I'm thinking. If I get it in 2021, I'll be happy. So, but I've got Forgotten Circles to tide me over. We've got we're about 5 or 6 scenarios into that, so we've got about another 20-ish to play of that. So I think we can stretch that for the next few months at least. So yeah,
there you go. Yeah, awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, fellas, I'll let you go. I know you got other callers looking to get in, and glad I could chat it up with you tonight.
Yeah, thanks for calling. We appreciate it.
Our other listener is excited to call us again.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Take care, Mike.
All right, man. See you guys.
Bye.
Later.
Oh man, Jaws of the Lion. I think I don't know how many people talked about that today.
Yeah,
Like everybody.
That's
we got moms playing. We got
on there again. Yeah,
Jaws of the Lion was a legit hit.
Yeah, it certainly was. And again, I think it just everybody kept hearing about Gloomhaven, but then when you see the size of that box, and then you heard the stories about how intimidating it can be, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, I want to be in that world, but I'm not willing to make that commitment." And then Jaws of the Lion came out, and everybody again back on that train. This is the way to learn Gloomhaven. Baby steps. They sell it at Target. Just go pick it up, $30-$40, and it really was the way to go. Yep.
Super Pinball Arcade was the last thing we talked about. I'll just finish off with Amazing. We'll wrap that one up there.
Yeah, we both enjoyed that. Yeah.
I was going to hit off on some news stuff because I really want to get this out there before the other viewer leaves.
Yeah.
Our one other viewer. The Baseball Highlights 2045. So I made a big purchase about a whole bunch of Baseball Highlights 2045 stuff from Eagle Griffin Games. They had a sale going on their website. But why is that important, right? I'm using that stuff, that product that I bought, to give away as part of a tournament. So I'm going to host an online tournament of Baseball Highlights 2045, which is a deck building game. So Baseball Highlights 2045 is a deck building game, hand management, baseball themed game that plays in about 45 minutes.
Yeah, or less. Yeah,
or less.
Yeah,
in mini games. Right? So you play like 3 or 4, best of 7 World Series mini games.
Sure.
When you're drafting players in between each game. Patrick's good at math there.
Yeah, he got it.
7 people, he says.
Oh, okay.
Not just one other. So, but I'm bringing that up, folks, in the news because I'm going to host a tournament for that. So make sure you shout out to me. Let me know if you want to be a part of that. The Android app, the iTunes app. iTunes, is that a thing? Apple?
Sure.
I'm not Apple-ish.
Apple thing, yeah.
Wherever Apple people buy Apple products,
it's there.
The app is there, and I think it's all under $4 for each of them. And I figure once we get at least 4 people committed to playing, we'll do a little tournament once a week game online because you can meet up with each other through the app cross-play.
Okay,
and
fun.
Play against each other. And I'm going to give away a copy of, which, Rob, I didn't know this existed.
Yeah,
pull it up here.
I didn't either.
The Baseball Highlights 2045 Spring Training Edition. I had no idea that existed. Yeah. So Robert and I have played Baseball Highlights 2045 for a long time. Like, we used to play it at lunch at work.
Right.
We would save our games in between, and it's a great game. But they came out with a small box version that includes the starter team and then a smaller free agent deck.
Okay.
So the free agents that you can buy, it's just a smaller version of it. And instead of the wooden pegs, like the wooden meeple things, you get tokens. So it really cut down on the cost. And I think it was like $6 on Eagle Griffin Games.
Oh, wow. That's a good price. I
scooped up 3 copies, folks. I'm going to give away one for the tournament.
Cool.
I'm going to keep one as my way to introduce people to the game because it's the same game, just less options when you're buying. A
little smaller, yeah.
So it'd be easier to learn. And then I also bought more expansion teams.
Oh, of course.
So now I've got Florida.
Got to go all in.
Right.
Yeah.
As a team.
Yeah.
I got Baltimore.
Baltimore.
So you get to play your Baltimore team. So now we have a new starting team. So we're not stuck to the 4.
Okay.
Los Angeles.
Right.
Los Angeles, Boston, and New York, and
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Yep.
Those are the 4 starter teams. So now I got more teams for us.
Cool.
Kansas City, Florida. And then I also bought more robots, more cyborgs, and more humans. So the whole idea behind the game is you're playing baseball in the future, right? But in the future, baseball got boring. And so in baseball, when it got boring, they condensed it down to 6 innings to kind of shorten up the game and make it easier for fans to enjoy. And we got a call coming in. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name and where you're calling from.
Oh, it's No Chill Will.
Hey,
Will.
Hola, No Chill Will. How are you?
Sorry. Oh, man. I should be in bed, but you know what? I like to punish myself.
You got shows to call into.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, I should. I'll be there next week, guys. For sure.
Cool.
I just man, I'm gonna stay at home. I want to stay and I just want to be a bum.
I totally get that. There are moments. We have those moments. Last Thursday was one of them.
Yeah.
I had that moment last Thursday.
Yeah. But I did get a new game, For Glory. I think I told Carlos about it before.
Okay.
Yes.
It's in a Roman themed game. I love Roman themed stuff. So 2-player head-to-head deck building game.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. Like, I think maybe that's what prompted you to call us talking about Baseball Highlights 2045. When I did my research on this For Glory,
yeah,
Robert, it feels like it, but it's a Roman gladiator theme, right? So instead of playing baseball matches, you've got 3 arenas where you're going to be sending gladiators to go fight in to get you glory points through victory.
Okay.
And you're buying new gladiators and buying training and equipment and the influence of other people in order to help you do that better. So it kind of has like a Baseball Highlights 2045 feel, but in a gladiatorial combat mode. But it's strictly 2-player like Baseball Highlights 2045.
Head-to-head?
Head-to-head.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, it got great components in there. The only thing I didn't like, and maybe it's because I think they designed it for to be put in sleeves, was the cards they're pretty thin. So, but they have a nice finish, but they're just like thin. They're not, or maybe it's because most of my games I've been purchasing recently are like the double thick playing cards. So maybe I'm treating these as regular. I don't know. But
that was
probably my only. Yeah, it's just not the same. No. But yeah, I picked that up, and I'm just waiting for all of my Kickstarters should be coming in here in the next month or two. But with that damn Chinese New Year coming around,
yeah,
one of mine already got postponed.
Oh, that's happening. Yep, I'm hearing that.
Yeah, that is a thing.
Well, it was ready to come in, and then Customs decided to hold the ship. So, and then nothing's going to leave the port until they deal with their New Year. So
my research I did on For Glory, I think it's going to be a good purchase. I think it's going to be something that you and I will enjoy playing. And the research I did, a lot of people are saying that the cards are a must for sleeving, like a must. They're just unfortunately way too paper-like,
flimsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they made it to where they decided, all right, if you're going to put these on sleeves, they're going to shuffle really well, but let's just go ahead and make the cards thin anyway. That doesn't make any sense. But then they go all out and give you metal components.
Well, I was going to ask you.
Swords
I was just looking here on BGG. It's got the little metal swords, the little metal helmet. It's got the blood tokens out of wood. I mean, it looks like really nice components.
It just doesn't make sense, like to cheap out on the cards, like the most important part of the game.
Right.
I can get pennies to recreate tokens, but I can't get anything else to recreate the cards.
The cards.
Maybe you should think about double sleeving. That's something I learned about recently.
Double sleeve.
Patrick taught me about that. So you take a card. Robert, you're going to love this. I know how much you love sleeving,
I love
Robert.
sleeving for the first time. Now you're going to double sleeve me?
So it's like wearing 2 masks.
Yeah.
You take the card and you put it in a sleeve, and then you take another sleeve and flip it upside down and put it the opposite way. Now the card is like fully encased, top, bottom, left, right, up, down.
Yeah.
I could play that thing while eating Cheetos and sucking down some, I don't know, Fruit Loops.
Why? Why?
Double sleeve.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go with a Y on that one as well.
Yeah. Don't understand it.
Hey, you do you, boo.
I mean, we already like spend too much money on extra components, nicer quality stuff, and some of us spend on sleeves.
More games.
Yeah, let me just go buy another extra pack of sleeves.
Yeah.
I can't. I tried.
No.
I tried. It was like 2 weeks ago. I had a game, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to sleeve this. This game really isn't that expensive. I could replace this. By the end of the game, and I think it was in the middle of the game. I think, William, I was playing with you. I was during the middle of the game. I'm taking the draw deck and I'm sleeving every card as I go. I'm like, nope, can't do this. I just can't do this.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was. It was a. I think
Shores of Tripoli.
Builder-ish game.
Shores of Tripoli. Middle of the game, I'm like, I gotta sleeve because they were linen finish. And I'm thinking, well, they're linen finish. These cards are great. I want to feel the cards.
You can't feel them if they're in a sleeve.
Yeah, but then I was like, but I got my fingerprint on that. Oh, I can't do that. Nope. I started immediately sleeving.
Nope.
That's because he sits there and eats his dinner while he's playing games too.
Yeah. Well, you gotta have a little separation.
No, the Cheetos gotta come with me.
I've been able to, and you're gonna like this, Carlos. I am printing a 3D insert for Red Alert where every expansion fits inside one box.
Oh, so finally have enough box control to put everything back into one big box.
Well, yeah, even like the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 6 expansions that I have with the game.
That's beautiful.
All the ships and everything, and every player gets their own little tray, and like, here you go, you pull out the ships you want to play with, and there you go.
And that's a hobby in itself, is the box control.
Yeah.
Right. So I love building inserts and putting it all in there and organizing the game.
Foam core.
Except for Champions of Midgard. Although I own
right into the box.
Although I own the insert for Champions of Midgard, I just haven't put it together.
Oh, well, I actually enjoy putting the inserts together. I think that's fun, especially the broken token, the little wooden ones.
Man, those are fun.
Gluing them all together.
And they feel so great once it's all organized and pretty in there.
Yeah.
But I just felt like Champions of Midgard, I started something with it where I just kind of chuck everything
now
in
you
there.
got to keep doing it just for face value, shock value.
Shock value.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else you got, William?
Yeah, but the only problems are broken. I bought some other games for when my family comes in town. You know, the little kids. You know, I picked up Reef 2nd edition.
Oh, I want to try that one.
Sale for like $20.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on sale for like $20. Like 2nd edition, $20. Sure, I'll pick it up. You know, boom. Look, you know, very big. Oh, they look like those those big chunky Legos.
Yeah, they just. I see. That's all I see is I see like Duplo or Little Tykes, and I'm like, ooh, really?
I just want to try it. I don't know. It's a little puzzly.
It's a stacking game, right?
It's puzzly. Yeah.
It's I don't like those asymmetric puzzly games.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna like this one. Is what freaks me out. I'm like, I think I might like this one.
Report back
because they're chunky like Lego looking things.
Yeah, have to let us know how you like it.
And I think it has to do with it being the top piece. Like, that's the most important piece.
Because you're looking down from the top, yeah.
Yes, yeah. The rules, you can follow patterns based on the level, on how high it's stacked, or just the actual placement on the mat, on your little tableau as you got. So, but whatever is looking down from bird's eye view, that's how you match it.
I like spatial games. So, I do like games that have to do with organization of a space.
You like Calico a lot, and it wasn't necessarily my speed, but I don't know, something about the aquatic games I seem to like. I actually have a couple fish tanks at home, so maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, anything under the water, I'm interested in. So yeah.
And you don't like cats?
No, cats. no, I'm a dog guy. No cats.
All right, Will.
On,
next week you'll be here.
Game, so.
You'll be here with us next week.
Yeah, next week. Yeah. I'm going to set some time aside. Maybe I'll even take off like Friday from work, so I don't have to even worry about anything. I need a break.
Wow, it's not that hard, man. I mean, we're only here till like 11.
Getting close.
Yeah,
we're getting old, man. Staying up to 11.
I got to get up and deal with people all day. Some of us work from home.
Yeah.
Well, I'll see you next week. Go to bed.
Play solo games.
Yeah, go to bed.
Stop watching YouTube.
All right, guys.
I appreciate you calling.
Thanks for calling, Will.
Sorry. No problem, man. Take it easy.
Bye.
Good night.
All right, so wanted to wrap up with the Baseball Highlights 2045 online tournament that we're going to do for Android and Apple apps on your phones. Please join us. I'm going to give away a copy of the game that I never knew existed, Spring Training Edition of the game, which is a small box version of Baseball Highlights 2045. So you get the same starting teams, you get the same play mats for the board, you get the same tokens, but instead of the wooden player pawns for your runners, they're just tokens, like wooden or cardboard tokens.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest differences. And then the free agent deck is smaller, but at $6 on the Eagle Griffin website, that's a steal.
Yeah, it gives you pretty much the feel of the whole game. So yeah.
So you get the whole feel of the whole game. So I'm going to give away one of those. Please join us for that. And my hope is that once we get into doing stuff like that in person, we'll do a tournament at your turn in person.
Yeah,
all in one day.
Yeah,
where you can do pods of 4. So you do almost like divisions. So each pod of 4 players will play each other in that pod. So there's 3 games there.
Head-to-heads, yeah.
Right? And then out of the 4 pods, each of the winners will go to a bracket to the World Series.
The World Series, yeah,
right?
cool.
The last 2 finish off in a best-of-7 World Series.
Sounds like fun.
Where you take the team that you built in your pod with you to the bracket play.
Okay.
Oh, man, that's going to be so cool.
That should be cool.
Because each time you play a game in the series of the game, so you're playing either best-of-7 or 3 games, 3 games before the best of 7, so a 3 pregame and then a best of 7 in your pod, and then each time you play a game, you're buying new players in between and then getting rid of old players. Your deck is always, I believe it's 15. I believe it's 15 cards. Your deck is always 15 cards. So whenever you buy a new player,
you have to retire
someone or send them to the minors.
Or send them back to the minors.
Send them back to the minors.
There you go. Yep. And I got to mention real quick, that game always rings a bell for me, or it's going to be a memorable game. I learned that game at Dice Tower. I think it was at the second or third Dice Tower I had ever been to. Mike Elliott, the game designer, was there. He was doing demos of it, and I sat down across the table from. We were just randomly pairing up and sitting down at seats. Rob Oren, who I didn't even know really who Rob Oren was at the time, but big in the YouTube world for board gaming right now. I got to play my first experience against Rob Oren head to head with Mike Elliott, the game designer, over our shoulder, kind of teaching us how to play. So that was a very cool experience. Yeah,
that's a great way to learn it, because you've got a rules question right there, but there are very few rules questions with this game. It's
pretty straightforward.
It's so great, and it's a take that game in that you're going to play and react. So one player will play a card, and each card has multiple facets to it.
Offense and
it's
defense.
It's going to have offense and defense, and sometimes special things.
Yep.
And then so you're going to have an immediate action that could impact defense.
You threaten. Yep.
Or you can have an immediate action that impacts offense, and then you're going to threaten either singles, doubles, triples, or home runs of different numbers of those, of different speed of those.
Yep.
So each of the runners that are going to be on the board are going to run at different speeds, so it's going to impact. You might have like a log jam if you play the wrong card first, because he might have got on.
Don't put the fast guy behind the slow guy.
Right, you might have got on base, but he's a fat slow guy, so he's not going to get extra bases.
Yeah.
So there's so much thinking in there. So please join us. Baseball Highlights 2045.
Fun game. Yep.
Shoot me a message. Check us out on the Facebook so we can create a fun tournament environment. Custom dice coming.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I just worked with the provider Maelstrom Gaming Mats, I believe out of Canada, is doing custom dice for us for the Beans and Dice podcast, which I'm taking to the Blood Bowl tournament that I'm hosting.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The Blood Bowl tournament I'm hosting in March 6th out of Your Turn. I was so surprised. Like the first day I posted it up, Rob.
Yeah.
I started seeing money coming in from registrations.
Oh yeah.
How many? I'm like, oh my God, this is real.
How many you got?
I'm at 6.
6 people. Okay.
Yep, 6 people registered and paid.
Okay.
Right. So there's more people already saying they're going, but registered and paid, and and they're already submitting their team. So like it feels real now. So I'm like, okay, I better order some real dice, because I promise I'd give them away.
Got some prizes. Yeah.
Yep. So everybody's gonna get Beans and Dice custom dice with the Beans and Dice logo on
just
them.
For playing. Cool.
Just for being there.
Yeah.
So you get a pair of those, and then the winner will get a vinyl pitch, a mat for playing Blood Bowl. We're playing the Blood Bowl 7s variant, which is the hour 45-minute long game. It only plays with 7 players instead of the full 11, and it's half the size of the pitch. And those pitches aren't made by Games Workshop, so you have to find your own. So I figured I'll give away one of these pitches. I ordered 5 more pitches from Mats by Mars. So there's a custom mat company. So I had them send me 5 more. So now I've got a total of, I believe, 8 pitches myself.
Cool.
To be able to host tournaments here on forward.
And then some.
Yep, and some. And then I'll give away one as for the winner. William says he feels the way you feel about Blood Bowl.
Not my game, but I've never been a minis gamer, so...
No, Nick Oben is looking to come out. We're going to do tomorrow. We're going to do some practice matches. So I got some friends coming over to do some practice matches tomorrow to get ready. I'm excited about hosting my first Blood Bowl tournament. The community is so strong here in Florida, thanks to the Florida Blood Bowl group on Facebook. James Luft runs that group, and it's a huge community of Blood Bowl players in the Florida area. It brings me back to our days of playing X-Wing competitively.
Yeah, I remember that.
That I was watching Queen's Gambit.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I feel like it's a tangent, but it's not.
Yeah.
Queen's Gambit, which is that chess show on Netflix.
Yep.
And there was this moment where she walks into the tournament hall, and she signs in, and she sees the pairings, and then she goes to her table, and she introduces herself to her opponent. And man, it just gave me all those feelings of like, oh, I miss the tournament setting of competitive gaming.
Just not a thing right now, but it'll be back.
I'm looking forward to that for 2020 as things get better.
2021, yeah.
2021.
Yep.
Yeah, 2020 is gone.
It's gone.
So we talked about the Blood Bowl dice. We talked about the Blood Bowl tournament I'm doing. Received Euphoria from Stonemaier Games.
Oh, yeah, sweet. We got to play that.
So that's a review copy.
Muhammad's a big fan of that game.
So that's something we have to get to the table soon. That's in the news. Iwari. Patrick came over and taught me Iwari.
Yeah.
We put that on video. So let us know what you thought about that, with that style of game where someone teaches me a game, right? Because I'm not a great teacher of games, but I like to learn about games. So maybe having guests over to teach me about games and record that session
Teach
so that
Carlos
you can,
a game. Yeah.
right? Carlos learns a game. So we did Iwari. Check that one out. Splendor Mat. I found somebody posted it on one of the forums how much they love their new Splendor mat. I went on Amazon and found a mat for Splendor.
Really?
Like a neoprene mouse pad mat.
Didn't know that was a thing.
Me neither.
Yeah.
It's not an official thing because it came in like from China. But it came. It showed up, and I'm excited to play it. I want to get Splendor back to the table.
Cool.
It makes me want to play Splendor more.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think that wraps us up.
Yeah, we almost 2 hours. That time just flew by.
And we appreciate you calling in. I know we might be having some disconnections on the online.
Yeah, so it looks like something just popped up on the screen.
I've got it recorded, and we will post the recording for you all.
Cool.
So please be here next Thursday, same channel, same time. Rob and I will be here to do the live call-in show to hear about games that you're playing.
Yep.
While we try to talk about the games that we're playing.
We've tried to fit them in here and there, yeah.
I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
We're the Beans and Dice Podcast about
how we game.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Be safe, everybody.
Night.
Oh, you're still here?
What?
Hey. Thanks again for watching the podcast. If you like what we're doing, please hit the like button.
Thumbs up.
Hit the subscribe button.
Hit the bell.
Yeah, ring that bell so you get notifications on it. We're going to do this every Thursday. That's our goal.
Yep.
Keep doing this on Thursdays. And check us out on Facebook, Beans and Dice. Facebook, Beans and Dice. Search us out on Facebook. Follow us there.
Yep.
Instagram, right? So same channel, Facebook, Instagram. We'll post pictures there of what we got going on. But we really want to say we appreciate you watching, and more importantly, we appreciate you calling in.
Appreciate the participation. Yeah, keep those calls coming.
Take care, y'all. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.